Jon, how great to see you.
How lovely to see you, Vanessa.
I mean, nobody can say that Donald Trump has let the earth grow under his feet, the grass grow under his feet. He's definitely shifting, isn't he? Doing stuff.
It's sort of a tsunami on multiple fronts. I
Yes.
mean, you don't know where to look. When I was living in America during the first Trump term, you used to talk about how he would throw a shiny object to make all the journalists go chasing after that. He's put out about 50 shiny objects simultaneously, and it's hard to know where to turn. The release of the prisoners who were convicted after the January the 6th riots, the executive orders that stop people being employed by the federal government if they're doing diversity, equity and inclusion work. It goes on and on and on. The attempts to retake the Panama Canal, apparently, and it's hard to know where to look.
But yesterday we had all sorts of commentators saying, yes, of course it looked tremendous theatrically. It was wonderful box office, having him sitting at that desk and signing away all these incredibly ambitious or absolutely horrific, depending on your perspective, projects. But most of them will come to nothing because they'll all end up in court. They'll be stopped. They'll be stymied. There won't be a dramatic effect. It was done for dramatic effect, but the effect won't be dramatic. Is that true?
I'm not sure about that. I think that this is different. So in 2017, when I was there, you had all these people in the White House who were newly kind of minted into the Trump administration, and they didn't know how anything worked and how to make things happen. And the great description I heard from an American commentator was, the velociraptors have learned how to open the doors.
Okay.
And I think that these executive orders have been better drafted than they were 8 years ago, that some of this stuff will happen. It will bring profound change. I think that people who just say, this is all performative and you can ignore it, I think it's wrong. I think that he's determined to bring forward the changes. And the other big difference from 8 years ago is there's no resistance to him this time. The Supreme Court has got a conservative majority. The Senate and the House of Representatives have now got pliant Trump owns the Republican Party. And so if he wants to make these changes, he'll be able to.
But for example, the firings which have taken place so swiftly, of very senior personnel in all sorts of capacities. Yeah. I mean, we all know in this country you can't just fire someone. There have to be warnings, there has to be due process, there has to be a reason. You can't just go and you're fired. That's a television thing on a game show. That's not real life.
Yes, but I mean, anyone who is employed by the federal government, involved in DEI work, diversity, equity and inclusion, has been put on gardening leave, and they've been told to find alternative ways for them. Now, it may cost the federal government money to pay them off, but I think that Donald Trump believes he can do these things. And I think that what you're seeing, and which is the kind of astonishing part about this, is Donald Trump extending presidential authority to the levels of an emperor, and trying to do stuff that no one would normally dare do. And that is the new territory we're in. We've had presidents who've wanted to shake things up, of course. And Donald Trump won a mandate. But he is finding absolutely next to zero resistance from the Congress. And the idea of America was the kind of, basic kind of civics. 3 co-equal branches of government. The executive, the judiciary, the legislature. It's now all about the executive. It's all about Donald Trump and him amassing huge power, and no one seems to be standing in his way.
And when you say sort of Napoleonic fervour for land grabs, saying that he's going to grab the Panama Canal, Greenland, Canada, God knows what, is that generally a kind of crowd-pleasing vote winner, or do people start to think, my God, this is absolutely terrifying? What kind of position is he going to put America in?
I think at the moment, Americans feel exhausted by it. We had the 4 years of the Trump presidency. We then had Trump contesting the whole argument of the January the 6th riots and whatever else. I think there is a sort of, not collective, there is still opposition to it, but even the opponents are exhausted. And they are saying, you know what? Yeah, okay, well, whatever. Just kind of...
But you as a seasoned commentator and an observer, in such close proximity to all of this, are you in shock at what it is you have to reveal when you commentate? Do you feel like saying, and this is what's happening, can you believe it? Not just saying on this and this, but kind of reacting because it's so astounding, isn't it?
Well, it is astounding. But 8 years ago, it was... we were I was working for the BBC then as their North America editor, and I'd go on the telecast and you'll never believe what's happened, and you're kind of almost breathless in trying to describe what's happened. I don't think it does any good to be breathless. Donald Trump promised all of this in the campaign. He won the 3 big fights he won were on kind of culture war issues, mainly trans issues, the economy and immigration. He's going to deport illegal migrants. Now, there will maybe devastating consequences for the US economy because who's going to pick the fruit if you get rid of all the fruit pickers in the central belt of California, which is, it's the picking season at the moment. And a lot of the people are hiding at home. Because
do you think he'll simply form patrols of people and insist that between X hour and Y hour you go and pick fruit and you've got to do it, type of thing?
Look, let's see what he does. But I just think that you need to keep a sense of perspective on this. A lot of this he promised. Some of it is utterly shocking. I think that calling the people who rioted on January the 6th, the J6 hostages,
I know.
At the same time when you've had the release of those 3 people who've been held in tunnels in Gaza for 15 months, who were, they're not the same.
And one of those American, in inverted commas, hostages, who we know prisoners, immediately released a statement saying, I'm going to go and buy guns, hooray, hooray, or something like that.
Well, look, there are an awful lot of people who did an awful lot of bad stuff on January the 6th have been freed. And you wonder, well, this is part of some kind of private militia in future for Donald Trump. There are changes happening in America right now that are profound. But I think that you've got to sort of slightly separate some of the rhetoric from what is the reality and let us see where it goes. The rest of Europe, the rest of the world is frankly bracing itself for what this all might mean.